I have finally decided to review this little bad boy, the Autel Nano Plus drone. It has been out for a little while. I don't even know when the official release date was, but there was a lot of features that did not come out when this drone was available to the public, and most of the features are here now, so I figured it's a good time to share my experience with this drone. Are you ready? Let's do this. When it comes to build quality, I will say have your expectations set very low for all 250 gram drones. To stay very light will sacrifice some sort of build quality, although I can't say that this is poor build quality. It just feels like regular plastic, right? Nothing that can take a good smack or a good hit. It's just plastic. I would say the most dense and compact part would actually be this camera right here. Feels pretty dense and solid. Everything else just feels like regular plastic. Now, looking at the weather today, I would say not ideal. 35-mile-an-hour gusts and 21 consistent, but hey, it is what it is. This is one of those days that it's just got to get done, so it is what it is. That's one thing. This drone likes to talk a lot, but just lower your volume. It's got front, rear, and bottom sensors, which is pretty cool. So even in ludicrous mode, you could see here at the top right of the screen, I can tap that little sensor button and take it off completely in ludicrous mode. But in normal mode, in standard mode, both the front, rear, and bottom sensors work great. I have no problems with them. There we go. I'm full stick forward, and the sensors are holding up there. It's pretty good, and it's heavy winds today, so you shouldn't really be flying this drone in these type of winds. Any drone, as a matter of fact. But as a beginner, just remember you have no side sensors, so if you're going left and right, remember like this, you have no sensors, so just take that into consideration. The zoom is pretty nice. Not only the zoom, but autofocus. It's nice you have a choice between auto and manual focus, so you can focus things yourself and get it in tune. And that's definitely autofocus. Also, you can swipe down to just get rid of everything on the screen. Swipe up, really nice. I like that. Also, click the maps to open up different type of map views that you want. Let's go back to autofocus. So manual focus will really help you to dial things in and make sure that you nail the focus all the time, especially if you're doing professional jobs. Tap the little zoom button right there. It's on 1x, which is standard. Let's start with 1x. 1x, of course, that's 4K, so it's beautiful. And then you could click to 2x, which looks usable. I would use this on Instagram or Facebook or any social media, even YouTube. This is good enough for YouTube. 4x, to me, that's good for exploring, but not really usable. Now, recently, Autel added the ability to add log, color, and HDR. You can toggle on take photos while shooting every 5, 10, 60 seconds. That's nice. HDR is pretty cool. Just makes the ground pop a lot more, and it tries to contain the sky from getting too bright as well. So nice balance. I like it. I like the whole HDR mode. So the log color on this drone, absolutely beautiful. I mean, you can pull much more detail out of the log video in this drone just by using the log profile. Quite frankly, I can't film without it because I need the best image out of every camera that I fly. So for me, this is huge. I can't tell you how huge of an update this is. So definitely big thumbs up for this log profile, especially people who want to use this drone for professional jobs because the camera is just that good. Look, even if you take it out of log and you're just flying regular, the color rendition on this, the natural colors and everything, just it looks really good, really accurate. Everything just pops. Autel nailed it when it comes to color and accuracy on this new drone. Now, I know a lot of people complained about the color straight out of their previous drones, the Evo 2 Pro. This is a huge step up. It shows that they did listen and they did make some adjustments, which is great, right? And of course, so even if you're just a beginner, yes, you can take this drone out and have good quality shots straight out of camera, and that is definitely good to know. So huge thumbs up for that, Autel. Jello and flickering is a thing that this drone had, and it's one of the reasons why I waited to make this review, because I had jello and flickering too, but after the recent firmware update, all of that just went away. Those little bugs and kinks are now gone, so I don't have any jello issues at all. This function button right here is programmable, and especially if you're doing like me, flying in 35 gust mile-an-hour winds, which you shouldn't be doing with this drone. So look at my screen at the top left where it says ludicrous mode. I can tap this function button, it goes to smooth, it goes to standard, and it goes to ludicrous just with the tap of a button. So you can go into your settings over here under controller and map your buttons to whatever you want. And then I also have it when I double tap, it looks down. When I double tap again, it looks up. I also want to talk about the Sky app as we're here with the interface. You just slide between the modes, like take your finger and slide on the screen to go photo, to go portrait, to go quick shots, to go to all the different modes. You just basically slide into the mode you want. Hyperlapse, pano, everything basically is at the slide of a finger, which is really nice, really easy to use. The settings button is right above the record button, easy to scroll through, choose your frame rates, choose your resolutions. It doesn't look pretty, it's very simple, very basic, but sometimes that's what you need for a simple, small drone like this. View all your photos and all your videos that's on your SD card or in the Autel Sky app. Either which one, like your panoramas and stuff get saved in the Autel Sky app. You can download it straight to your phone from here. Very simple, very easy. This app is just so intuitive. I'm very, very happy with it for this particular drone. At the bottom left, you could see your gimbal at 0%, then it goes to 22%, then back up to 0. Very, very, very intuitive. They've opened all the features here. You've got a histogram at the top left, which is very professional. You can move that around. So yeah, you can get professional stuff from this drone. They did a fantastic job with it. The settings are very easy. You just hit the settings button, safety, control, camera, image, and about. Not much to explore here, but it is there. One tip I'll give you here under control, go under control, go under flight mode, and come to ludicrous mode, and make sure you set it to speed priority, not to video priority. When you prioritize speed, it makes sure that you will get home, versus if you select video priority, you might not get home, because it's going to make sure it keeps the video stable regardless of how windy you fly in. So if you're going to be flying in windy conditions like me right now, which is not recommended, make sure you set it to speed priority. That way you know you're getting home safely. The hyperlapse is pretty nice. I really like it. The cruise control feature, when you hold this down in the middle of a hyperlapse, when you're pointed in a specific direction, and then it locks it in on cruise control and finishes the hyperlapse for you, that's a really nice feature. It works really good in the daytime. More on the hyperlapse later, but for daytime hyperlapses, I give it a good solid thumbs up. We'll talk more about nighttime hyperlapses in a bit. Battery life, I get about 21 minutes out of it, and that's because the weather has been like this for the last probably month and a half, going on 2 months now. If you are in a calm environment, I'm pretty sure you'll probably get about 23, 24 minutes, which I think it's really good, taking into consideration all the features, all the sensors, and the powerful camera that this drone comes equipped with. It does a great job with the JPEGs. They come out nice, they come out rich, they come out accurate. Pretty much Very beautiful photos straight out of camera for beginners. The raw files initially when this drone came out had a very off tint color, and I don't know what was going on with the raw files, but that was a problem initially when this drone came out. And of course, this last update seems to have fixed it. My raw files look absolutely phenomenal. I edit my raw files on Lightroom Mobile, and I haven't had any color shift or problems with it since the last update. The panoramic photos, just as I showed you before, could be downloaded right from your phone, but and completed as well, stitched and everything, but those are only JPEG. If you want more control over and you want better quality photos, all the raw photos are also stored on your SD card. The biggest benefit of this camera is the night photography and videography. This is on another level. This is on another level for such a small camera with such a small sensor to yield these beautiful images at night with good detail at night is insane. It's insane. Literally, I can use this camera to do all my night shots. I actually prefer doing my night shots with this camera over the Air 2S, which is huge, right? I'm a big Air 2S fan. It's just that it just comes out that much better straight out of camera. And then when you put it in log at night, oh my gosh, it does a phenomenal job. I just love this camera at night. I can't get over it. And for anyone who wants to start flying at night and wants really good photos and videos, this camera will absolutely blow you away. Normally, camera filters are RGB, which is red, green, and blue. So those are the three colors, right? So this is a different technology altogether. It's the first of its kind on a drone. And as a result, the RYYB being yellow actually blocks less light compared to green. So green in the filtration that goes on these sensors normally blocks a lot of light, but the yellow doesn't, so it allows more light to come into this camera. And that's what makes this camera so good at night. In addition to that, it has a f1.9 aperture, which means there's a bigger opening on the camera to let more light in. Those two compiled with a 0.8 sensor, which is almost the size of a 1-inch sensor that you would find on the Air 2S or the Mavic 2 Pro, even makes this image better, or this camera I should say better for night shooting. So Autel has really done some work here to make this camera spectacular, and I think that's their main focus for this drone, is all about delivering a high quality camera on such a small, tiny platform. More about that later. Now, it's not all sunshines and rainbows when it comes to this drone. Unfortunately, it's not. There are some negative things that we need to talk about, some things that really bother me, little things, and then there's one or two big things as well that we need to discuss. But let's start with the small things. The controller, when it's charging, as you can see, I'm on one battery here, and I only get about 3, maybe 4 batteries out of this controller before I charge it. I wish the controller had a little bit more battery life, but it is sufficient, right? But I would like to see more battery life out of this controller, would have been nice. When charging this controller, it does make a noise. You actually hear the fan spooling up in this controller when it is charging up. It's a little annoying. Maybe I'm just nitpicking, but it is a con. Be aware of it. When you're done flying with this app, at least with Android, I don't fly iOS, you have to forcefully close the app out itself. Yeah, not that the app won't close out. Yes, I can minimize it like this and close it out, but it still seems to be running in the background somehow. And Android will hit me a notification saying that it's still running in the background and I need to force stop it. So it's just one extra step you need to do. I'm pretty sure firmware update might fix that as well, but that's a little annoying. And I know these are nitpicks, but there are things you have to be aware of if you do decide to get this drone. Now, this one's pretty big, right? A big con. It is only 8-bit color. There's no 10-bit color available in this little drone. And I know a lot of people will say, yes, that's a lot to ask for a sub 250 gram drone. And it probably is. 8-bit is definitely good enough. But when you're accustomed to professional work, and you get such a small package that is so powerful, you just kind of wish it had that 10-bit option for you so you could push the colors just a little bit more, especially since it has that log color profile available to you. Yes, you would want to take full advantage of that log and push all the colors as much as possible. Now, even though I was talking good things about the hyperlapse earlier and how good it is, yeah, that's only in the daytime. That's number one, and that's only when the wind is low, because the drone is so small, and I guess you can't really expect better for such a small drone, especially when the wind is high and it's fighting the wind, to take good hyperlapses as well and keep that camera ultra stable. And it's not only this drone, you'll get shaky footage with any other drone, except if you're flying something big like the Mavic 3 or maybe the Phantoms that can really, hold itself steady and the gimbal steady and accurate in heavy winds. The hyperlapses just don't come out good. They come out really shaky in the high winds, and you shouldn't be doing hyperlapses in high winds either. It's just not a good combination. But yeah, be aware of that. And number two, at night. At night, you want the streaks sometimes, right? Yeah, you want the nice running hyperlapses like this, but sometimes you want the long streaks to accompany. It looks really dramatic and can make the hyperlapse look a lot more intense and a lot more cooler. There's no manual control over the camera for hyperlapse, and as a result, you can't set your shutter to get the long exposure. You're just stuck with whatever the camera gives you. And even though the camera gives you a nice image, you can't get those long streaks. It's really something that I think Autel should add. Now, if they're going to add it or not, I don't know. I don't work at Autel, but it's definitely something that would be a very nice welcome to this drone. And while I'm on the topic of hyperlapses, let's talk about waypoint hyperlapses. Would be nice if Autel could throw that in as well, because most people who want a drone for hyperlapse also use the hyperlapse mode, also use the waypoint hyperlapse mode. Yes, this has two options. It has manual, where you could fly with the sticks and take the hyperlapse, and it has orbit, which it can orbit and do, and it has a third option, which I told you about earlier, which is the cruise control, where you can lock it in one position. All it's really missing is the manual controls and the waypoint hyperlapses. So if those two get added, this drone will go to another level, at least when the wind is low, because hyperlapses in high wind is just a bad combo. One other thing to talk about, and this is probably just another nitpick, is when you're taking off, the screen freezes for a second. So I'll show you right here. I'll just start up the drone and I will take off, and the screen just freezes up. See that freeze there? But then don't worry, it comes right back on again. So it's a momentary freeze. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal because when you're taking off, your eyes should be on your drone, not on your screen, but just something to be aware of, right? These little nitpicks. I just want you to know everything. Also, every time you touch it to pick it up, it gives you this annoying gimbal, not stable message. So every time you touch it, you lean it, you turn it, once the drone is on, you get this annoying message, gimbal not ready yet. But I will say, from the time you put it down on a nice steady surface and you're really ready to take off, well, a second or two later, the gimbal stabilizes and you're ready to take off. So it's not like it will cost you a shot or anything. It's literally a second or two before it stabilizes itself and take off. And I think they did this to kind of alleviate the whole horizon tilt issue that a lot of drones have been having recent. And if that's what it takes to get rid of the horizon tilt problem, then I'm all for it, because I haven't had any complaints when it comes to horizon tilt and this drone at all. Another huge problem for me with this drone is that in video mode, there is log, as you can see on the screen, but as soon as you go into pro mode, which is the professional mode, there comes the color comes back, the log is gone. The log is gone. So the log is just not available in Pro. You have to go in auto mode, which is video mode, in order to gain access to that log color. If you want that 180 shutter degree rule to get that motion blur and that cinematic look, you're going to want to use ND filters. When you pop ND filters on this in video mode, which is auto mode, it doesn't tell you what the shutter speed is, so you can't depict the 180 rule. So that's why it's important for those of us who are filming in log to have manual control in log, so we can pick our own shutter speed, put on our filters, and film in log and get the best quality image, or have control to get the best quality image. So that's a huge negative for me, even though I will say that I can guess to which type of ND is necessary for a particular day, slap it on in auto mode and it still does a great job. But I'm very particular with my stuff and I like to know exactly what shutter speed I'm filming at. Next, there's no real tracking feature yet available for this drone. Like, the tracking is, they said it's coming, but I haven't seen it. Now you can go over here in this mode that says portrait, and you can draw a box around a subject like yourself and track. Now you can walk in a circle or circle the drone. It will yaw around and follow you, but if you start walking away, it will not follow you. It will just keep pointed at you until it loses you, but the drone will not move forward or back or left or right. So if you go into this portrait mode and you go in a circle, it will circle or yaw and follow you, but that's about it, right? Does a decent job. When is the tracking coming? If the tracking is coming, I don't know. Autel drones and DJI drones in general, I don't really use them for tracking, but I know there are a lot of people out there who like to do light tracking on their bikes and stuff in nice open areas where there aren't much obstacles, and really could benefit from this feature. Hopefully it'll come soon. I'll update you guys whenever it's here, but at the time of making this video, it's just not available. Another thing you should be aware of if you're thinking about getting this drone is that Autel, the company itself, is having some growing pains right now. They're finding it very difficult to hire and train customer service representatives. So when you do pick up the phone to call, you might have to call about 10 times before you get through to somebody. They're just having a really difficult time training people and getting them to stay working for them and answering those phones and dealing with customers. I always love to fly with a lanyard, and there is just no way to clip this on and have it locked in place. I wish there was another scroll wheel over here. I'm a huge fan of scrolling through my menus and clicking on the scroll wheel to select the things I want. I'm not a big fan of taking my fingers off the sticks when I'm flying to have to touch stuff on the screen. It breaks my flow and it breaks my rhythm of my flight, and it just makes me have to realign and re-execute my shots all the time, as opposed to making adjustments on the fly literally as I'm flying. So it's kind of a bummer for me, but for most people who are flying this drone casually, it probably won't be such a big deal. I just wish it was there, and I hope it's there in future models, because it's something that other drone manufacturers took away, and I was hoping that Autel would be different and keep certain things, because it's important. I'm not using the original cable because it goes upright and prevents the antenna from closing down completely. I just don't like the original cables that come with it, so I'll leave a link in the description for this cable that you can pick it up. It's pretty comfortable and will fit your tablet and your smartphone. Another thing I want to mention is smart shots, or what they call quick shots. Yes, there's a bunch of quick shots here, like flick, fadeaway, rocket, and orbit, and you can even select direction on some of them, as you see me doing here. But I just wish that you had more finite controls, like you could determine how long the shot's for or when to stop the shots. These shots just execute and then they stop. They don't allow any finite adjustments, like the fadeaway. You can't choose how far away to fade away and stuff like that, but you know, the shots are there, and for the most part they work okay. When I've tested it in high winds, it's hit or miss in high winds, so just be aware of that. But as long as the wind is nice and calm, more than likely you'll get the shot on the first try. But it's nice to see that this little drone has an orbit feature, a rocket, fadeaway, and flick. It's great for people who are now getting started. Now, if I could take the sensors, the front and the rear sensors and the camera off of this Light Plus drone and stick it on the Mini 2, I think I would have the perfect sub 250 gram drone in my life. That is obviously not possible and obviously not going to happen. But the main reason I would love to do this, because the sensors work great and the camera on this drone is fantastic. It actually flies good. Like the previous Autel drones, a lot of people complain how they fly, and it is work to get it to fly the way you want it. It takes a lot of setup and a lot of practice and a lot of getting used to. This new drone out of the box flies great, flies like almost like any other DJI drone. They have come a long way when it comes to flight characteristics, and they definitely nailed it. This drone's easy to fly and a pleasure to fly. But the main reason I want the camera on the Mini 2 is because the Mini 2 handles the wind that much better. I feel like I can fly further in heavy winds. In heavy winds, I just won't take this very far because I have a feeling that even coming back, even though it does fight the wind to come back now on this recent update, especially in wind priority mode, it does fight the wind to get you home. But if you're too far, I feel like you're going to run out of battery, and because it's going to be fighting the wind and probably fighting the wind at 2-3 miles an hour, crawling its way back, and you just might not make it back and you might have to land somewhere. So I just don't feel comfortable in heavy winds flying this drone too far. Whereas the Mini 2, even in moderate to heavy winds, I'll push that bad boy, because that little thing is just a little Tasmanian devil that'll just eat up the wind. The update with the new wind priority mode does help a lot, but if you're a beginner, this drone can easily get away from you in high winds. Me, I'll push it. Like right now, 38 gusts, I'll fly it because I know what I'm doing. I know when to drop, I know which wind the direction is blowing in, and I know how to fight it. And I've been flying this drone for a while. I know how to push it and how it's going to respond. And little things like when you push it and it doesn't respond to the wind, sometimes you have to back off and push it again, or sometimes you got to spin it around and back up into the wind and you'll get better results. Not every beginner or starting pilot will want to deal with that, so make sure if you're a beginner, just don't put it up in high winds. If you're in intermediate to advanced and you don't get nervous easily, you can muscle this thing around and work it and get it back home. Not pleasantly, but you can get it done. And if you are a camera buff like me, and you put your hands on such a small drone, I think you will be able to look past these little things and still be happy. I just wish it wasn't so pricey. All the drones are pricey these days. Inflation, whatever you want to call it. These prices are just going through the roof. But yeah, all in all, I'm pretty happy with it. Now, more than anything, I'm anxious to know what you think. What are your thoughts on this drone after listening to this video, or maybe from just browsing the internet and listening to other people's reviews? What are your thoughts? How are you feeling about this drone? Is this something you want, something you will never touch, something you dream about getting? Is it too pricey but you like it, or you just don't like it at all? Where do you stand? How do you feel about this Autel Nano Light drone? Hit me up in the comment section, because I love to browse through the comment section and read you guys' comments. Even though I don't respond to all, I definitely read it. As always, links for everything in the description section below if you're thinking about picking up this drone or any other drone that's on the market. Make sure you give this video a huge thumbs up. Make sure you hit subscribe and hit the bell to get notified when I release new videos with the Autel Nano Plus or any other drone in general. I have a new DaVinci Resolve series going on, so make sure you check that out. I'll leave a link here for that video as well. It teaches you how to color grade. Very important to take your drone game up to the next level if you want to be better than the average person flying out there. If you have any further questions pertaining to this drone or any other drone for that matter, make sure you hit me up on Patreon, and I'll definitely respond to you and help you out in any which way I can. So there you have it, guys. There is my review of the Autel Nano Plus drone. With that being said, guys, I will catch you whenever I can. Make sure you become a Patreon, guys. Big benefits to Patreon. Get direct access to me. Any questions? I'm right here on Patreon. Support this channel, and there's benefits. Last Mini 2 went all the way to the UK.